Episode 33 of the Cinnamon Jesus Age of the Cinnamon. What's going on, everybody? It's me.
Don't expect this to walk on water or change your water to wine.
Yeah, no, I'm changing my wine to more wine. It's us, your Cinnamon. It's me, Seed, one of your hosts, and the other host is
Douglas Davidson.
Douglas Davidson, scruffy nerf herder himself.
What was that?
Scruffy nerf herder himself.
I am looking a little scruffy. Definitely a nerf herder. I'm gonna be fixing that soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, last I saw you, you were Big Beard Doug, weren't you? Didn't you have a little something going on here?
I can't remember. It hasn't exactly been a minute since we've recorded, but I honestly can't remember. It grows back so fast.
Also, there's that. There's also your mutant power is growing wonderful facial hair. You know what? It was because last time I was like, man, Doug must be stressed out there. His beard's just gray as shit all over the place. You're like the reverse Richard Gere. It's just all white down here, but you still got it up top.
Well, I'm guessing it's because we just found out that we were pregnant again. So that might explain why I was more white than normal. I do have a tendency to get grayer.
Well, congratulations to you, good sir.
Thank you.
My wonderful.
The hard part that I had to contribute is done. It's now all on Crystal.
And I'm sure you were great at it. Yeah, good for you, sir. Good for you. I'm glad. And now young Connor can have another small one to be the bigger of.
He's very excited. He's incredibly excited to be an older brother. However, he's not really understanding the whole naming thing. He wants to name younger brother. We do know it's going to be a boy.
Hey.
Connor. He wants to name it Connor.
I don't think that's how that works.
Yes, and he wants it to have 4 names, so it'd be Connor, something else, and then maybe Davidson.
Davidson. Okay. Well, good luck with that naming, sir.
I blame Dr. Zeus. Too many Daves.
You said Dr. Seuss. For some reason, my first thought was Dr. Zaius from Planet of the Apes. So you've already got a son named after Superman. The logical step would be to name him Damien after Batman's son.
Put the dog down, Damien.
I'm just tossing out ideas.
We're doing all this for you, Damien. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen at all.
All right,
well, we have had those discussions. Without derailing the show entirely. There are traditions in my family in Judaism, and there are traditions that Crystal's family have that aren't necessarily connected to faith. And so we're trying to incorporate those as possible. Unfortunately, both Connor and soon-to-be child have defied us in ways we cannot express properly because we had the perfect girl's name, and it does not work for a boy. It's totally fine. It was Parker Marlena, and the trick is that Parker works as a boy's name. Marlena just doesn't. Not as well.
Yeah.
So we're coming up with some other ones, but we think so far Miles is probably going to be the middle name, which keeps Connor real happy because his favorite Spider-Man is Miles Morales.
Morales, the subject of the PS5 Spider-Man.
So good.
My last thoughts on this matter, and hear me out here.
Sure.
Casual Confections Davidson.
Name is trademarked. Considering our names aren't Elon Musk, we're not going to go that route.
All right. Well, I tried.
Although we have seen enough Community to potentially name it Subway.
Let's get into it, man. What have you seen lately and or recently?
I have seen quite a few things, but there are 4 that are worth mentioning. In particular, the first one I'm going to get to, I am an outlier. I am completely and totally an outlier. I am a renegade. I am on an island by myself, although technically I think there's about 8 other people. It's Artemis Fowl, directed by Kenneth Branagh. Just hit Disney Plus. It's from a book series that I presume is beloved because there are 8 books in it. Started in 2001. This film has been in development since I think 2003, if I remember right. was finally set for release in 2019, got pushed to May, then COVID happened, got pushed again, dropped on streaming, so most people went, it's gonna suck! Well, if you listen to the majority, it does. It does exactly that. And in fact, the big reasons why most people think the movie sucks are the reasons I like the movie.
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks for Doug.
Okay, because so many people are giving this film shit. They're giving this film shit the way that they gave Cats shit. And honestly, I had to wonder, were you aware of what Cats was about before you saw the film?
Aware of it is better or not. It's based on the film itself.
Well, hold on. If you're doing and we've had this discussion, if you're doing an adaptation of Cats, which is a Broadway musical inspired by a set of poems.
Yep.
And Andrew Lloyd Webber? What?
Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Yeah.
Who did that? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And the problem is that people are like, it's just a bunch of cats singing about how they're cats. And they're acting all cat-like. What the fuck were you expecting from a movie called Cats? There are people dressed up as cats singing about songs about being cats.
I don't think that was people's beef with the film, mostly. But
that was part of it. They were like, why are they being sexy cats? I don't know. Why are you horny for cats?
First of all, horny for cats will be the title of this episode.
Horny for cats?
Yeah, let's get back to Artemis Fowl, though.
But there's this moment, Josh Gad plays a giant dwarf, process that however you like, who dwarves in this universe have the ability to dig. And they do that by basically detaching their lower jaw so that it distends and uses it to dig through dirt by eating it, which flies out of his ass. Now, people are apparently horrified by this. The movie is a PG-rated film. It's a family movie. It's stupid. What the hell were they expecting? And if you go into this movie expecting it to be this really smart whatever, it's just dumb fun. And I found it to be exactly that. I want to watch it again. I want to show it to Connor, who I think is the audience for this. And he would be delighted by it. Now, of course, from the research that I did, people that have read the books are going to be horribly disappointed.
I'm surprised that people are surprised at that bit of Josh Gad business, because most of what I've seen of Josh Gad is things coming out of his ass already.
Why do people not like him?
Yeah, me and my buddy had a whole discussion of why is he a thing? Why is Josh Gad a thing? Nobody seems to know, but he is a thing. So
I think he got, and I was having this conversation with Crystal in the reverse. We don't know why people don't like him. I think he hit everybody's radar with, I think he won a Tony for Book of Mormon. And then he's just used that to do a bunch of different things.
Yeah, I think it's when he hit a small populace's radar was Book of Mormon. I think he more hit people's radar with
Frozen.
No. Agatha Christie.
Murder on the Orient?
Yes, because he was doing these little video vignettes of him always constantly assailing Daisy Ridley trying to get Star Wars information.
That shit was hilarious.
I think that's when he hit most people's radars, was with that business. Because
he'd already done Frozen by that point.
Okay, you already done Frozen by that point?
Yeah.
Okay, then. I'm still going to say no. Anyways.
So basically what you're saying is you don't like him, guy? And you're trying to come up with reasons why you don't like him. It's fine just to not like somebody. It's okay.
If you say so, yeah. Where did this guy come from? We'll never know.
I have not heard an actual reason why people don't like him, like a nailed down specific thing. It seems to be more like the same way some people just don't like Nick Cage. Like Crystal is not a Nick Cage fan.
Oh, how dare she? How dare she?
Some people are like that, but whatever. I would recommend Artemis Fowl streaming on Disney Plus. I thought it was good fun. Another film I'd recommend that you may not have heard of. Are you okay? Like you're recommending this movie?
No, I was just looking at it on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm like, 10%, yikes. And then I scrolled down, and I saw the vast of night is 92%, and I'm like, I don't know why. But anyways, what's your second movie that we might not have heard of?
Second movie that you probably haven't heard of is a film called Lucky Grandma.
Mm.
It is directed by, hold on one second, I had it in front of me and it's gone. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Stacey Seeley, co-written by her and Angela Chang. This film is about an elderly Chinese grandmother who stumbles across some money, keeps it for herself, and ends up in a war between two Chinese gangs.
Nice.
It is a fantastic thriller, dark comedy, crime, drama. It is wonderfully shot, wonderfully structured. Have a couple of issues with the ending, just in terms of sticking the landing, but otherwise, it is an incredible feature film debut, and can't recommend enough. It's actually streaming right now in virtual cinemas, which I believe the Charlotte Film Society, if you're listening to this, the Charlotte Film Society, I believe, has it in their virtual cinema. And if you rent it through them, then you get to throw a couple of dollars to the Charlotte Film Society, which is a great group bringing a ton of attention to films all around. Another film just going along with that sort. This one is an American film, but the next one is from 2017, One Cut of the Dead. I have been hearing about this movie for quite some time. I'm actually ticked at myself because I had an opportunity to review this in 2018 for the, I think it's the New York Asian American Film Festival or New York Asian Film Festival. And I was too swamped and couldn't do it. This film is amazing. If all you need to know going into it is that a film crew is trying to make a zombie movie when zombies attack.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've heard of this joint. Okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing. It's streaming right now on Shudder exclusively, so you can't stream it anywhere else. But they partnered with RLJE Films, who've released some of my favorite films over these last few years. And they partnered with them to do a physical release. So you can do Blu-ray and DVD in a Steelbox combo or just DVD. Highly recommend that one. Seriously, just find it, watch it, go do it. And then the last one, which I have been waiting to talk to you with. Da 5 Bloods. Spike Lee just dropped on Netflix.
Yeah, man.
This film, for me, was a hard watch. And before we get into what I think about it, I would love to hear what you think.
The Five Bloods is an excellent film. I think I'm hoping that we have like a resurgence of Spike, because after Black Klansman, The Five Bloods, my man is firing on all cylinders right now. It's haunting. It's always good to see Black people fully fleshed out on screen. You don't always get that. You get Black people on screen, but not fully fleshed out characters, like representing people that we know in society on screen. And first of all, this movie couldn't have dropped at a better time, I think. The timing of this.
Apparently so.
Yeah. Spike has knowledge of the future. I came to that conclusion a long time ago. I'm curious as to Delroy Lindo. Like, he's been fairly quietish, putting out a little something here, a little something there over the last couple of years. And then, why him? But then you see the movie and you're like, God, Delroy Lindo still fucking got it. He is an amazing actor. Amazing actor, as is Mayor Clay Davis of The Wire. Also an amazing actor as well. And Lester Freeman of The Wire. An amazing actor as well. This movie's just half The Wire. Shot beautifully. Mm-hmm. Wonderfully done all around. It's deep, it's engaging. It's got a little bit of comedy in there. It's got surprises all over the place. Mm-hmm. Fucking landmines. Yeah. And it is something. It is something. I'm still trying to figure out how to fully process that movie into words. I think I want to watch it again to see if I can get a better grasp of what all I saw. Because I did drink a giant boot of beer while I was watching it.
I actually envy you, and you know how much I drink. I could have used one while watching this.
It's raw, man. Like, he doesn't hold, especially at the beginning. He just doesn't. It's a movie and it's a history lesson all at the same time. Like there's a lot of stuff in there. I'm like, well, yes, I know about this. And then there'll be things in there that's like, oh shit, I've never heard of this before. I want to go look this up, or stuff that I had forgotten that I knew. Like that Christmas Addicts was the first cat clapped. The shot heard around the world, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's a history lesson without. It all seemed natural. Whenever you got a little history fact dropped, it seemed like it was natural, not forced or shoehorned. And it was always something that you go, huh, okay. And it was perfect at that time. And I would like to know, here's another question if you want to ask this. Did he start out knowing what facts of history he wanted to put in there? Or did he come up on a scenario where he's like, oh, this would be perfect to bring up at this time, and then he put it in there? I want to know how far into his writing process did he decide he wanted to put all these wonderful facts about African Americans, including the still pictures and all that of what he could, into the movie.
So as whether or not to see if I understand, you want to know if he went, all right, as I'm creating this script, because it was originally by these other two writers from, I think, 03. It was either 03 or 2013. And then Lee and his writing partner, what's his name? I'm looking for it. Kevin Wilmot, who he worked with on Black Klansman and I think some other stuff. But Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo, they were the original writers, and Spike and Kevin took it the rest of the way, if you will. They took that original script and adapted it for this. So what you want to know is if, as they were working, did they go, all right, here's the historical moments I want to discuss, or did he go, this historical moment would fit nicely here? You want to know if it was built around or if he just filled it in. Am I understanding right?
Yes. Or I guess the better question would be, is that in the original literature already? If it is, then that's a silly ass question. That's what he adapted from that. If not, then yeah, I'd like to know if he just drew from his vast wealth of African American history and he's like, oh, this would be perfect. Or if he's like, I want the people to know specifically about these things, and kind of crafted around that. But yeah, that was a day one watch for me. That was a long day for me. Between work, and then I had to run a million errands, and I was determined, and I was tired as shit by the time I got home. And I was like, I will watch this movie tonight.
Yeah.
And it was worth 2.5 hours, and it's worth every second of it.
And the crazy part is that first hour is just the setup.
Really? Yeah. I mean, they take a good long time establishing who each person is and kind of their motivations and all this bit of business before they really get cracking. Like, I think it has a pretty quick third act. It just kind of wraps up real fast, but still character work, man. If you do it right, people don't mind taking a while to set your movie up if you do it right. And I think Spike did it right.
Yeah, you mentioned that beginning. It just as a trigger warning for those listening that have not watched it by this point, when we talk about Spike using historical events, this is similar to what he did, almost exponentially so grown out of what he did in Black Klansman with all of a sudden I can't think of the actor musician who tells the story in Black Klansman. I can't think of his name. Dideo, son of a bee. Okay, I'll come back.
Not pulling it.
You are not helping right now.
I hear that a lot.
Anyway, but when that gentleman in Black Klansman is telling the story about the lynching, you are seeing Harry Belafonte. Thank you.
Yes.
Harry Belafonte.
Old ass Harry Belafonte.
When he's telling that story, you get some of the photos and some other things that are in it. Da 5 Bloods, if you haven't seen it by this point, does start with a history lesson. And one of the things that I love is that Spike is putting in names, dates, locations. And someone on Twitter, I forget who it was, had commented that Da 5 Bloods is almost perfect for Netflix because since he provides this citation information, you can pause it, go look something up, and come back to the movie. Not that I would ever recommend doing that, but it is something you could do. But there is some extreme violence And what I really appreciated about this film, as I was analyzing it, is the fact that it's not enough to just show you a photo before a violent act happens. There's a moment in the beginning, before we even get to the story proper, where you see a photo of an execution about to take place, and then it switches to video where you actually watch the execution. And there's stuff like that. So it's Spike wants you to know that it appeared to me that even though you are about to watch a fictional story, the violence that they went through was incredibly real. And this film is so very layered. I was unaware, for example, Robert Daniels, who is a film critic who's written for the Playlist, Polygon, Ebert Voices, and a few other places, he brought it to my attention, which I thought was wonderful. The line, "We don't die, we multiply."
Yeah, Bebe's Kids.
I didn't realize that it was from there.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that there was a movie. I was just familiar with the cartoon that I think ran on Fox for a little while.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I just knew about that. I didn't realize that not only that, but it was written by Robin Harris, who worked with Spike. So
comedian.
There's so many layers to this film, from the lines to the stuff that you see, the cinematography. There's 4 different screen ratios, each one communicating something different about what's happening. The fact that the lead actors themselves are not de-aged or replaced in the original Vietnam sequences, I think is very telling about the story. And we could very much spend the rest of the show discussing this film, which we will not do, but we could, because it is so fantastic. And it is hard. After that opening sequence, I was on edge for the rest of the film. And from the moment we met the people from Lamb, I went, oh shit, where's there going to be a landmine?
Yeah.
Where is there going to be a landmine?
Yeah, as soon as you see them, you know it's that it's somewhere is going to be. And I kind of had an idea of where that was going to go. It went where I thought it was going to go. But then it happens again. I thought it was going to be a one and done. So even if it does what you think it's going to do, it still surprises you. Still.
Yeah. And this film does surprise over and over again. And the only thing I could think of, and I know we need to move on, but I couldn't help but think of the sequence with Delroy Lindo when he is, as Paul, his character. Even though this is an ensemble, this is really his film.
Yeah.
And he is speaking to the camera. And all I could think was how accusatory it is to the audience in a way. And I'm watching it on my 40 whatever inch TV. But imagine if you'd seen it in the theater. And Netflix probably would have done a theatrical run to go with it if all of this wasn't happening. Imagine seeing Delroy giving that speech in a theater. It would have been devastating.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been great. It would have been great to see. Now that Netflix has the Egyptian, Monday through Friday, they have the Egyptian, which is really weird to have a contract with a theater for just business hours. But that's definitely one that I would have loved to have seen on the big screen in any possible way.
And you never know, as things shift and change, depending on when it's safe to go back to theaters, they might run it. Who knows?
Yeah. And now Spielberg can stop complaining. I watched a movie. It took me...
Hey, that's great!
It's
so convenient.
2 days, 3 different programs to finally be able to get back to my Criterion streaming. But I was determined to watch this movie. A movie that you have raved about.
Oh, is this why you wouldn't tell me?
Yes, this is why I wouldn't tell you.
Ooh.
I'd only seen bits and pieces, action scenes, but I'd never seen the full movie itself. I sat down and watched Police Story. And my God, what a good movie Police Story is.
So
Jesus
great.
Christ, this movie is so good. I went and looked it up, and it's sitting at like 92% on the old Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, I see why. I definitely see why. It is an amazing film. The comedy is just goofy as fuck. Mm-hmm. It lands when it lands hard. Mm-hmm. The action is incredible. The story is just a legit good story, man.
Yeah.
It's simple. It is an effective, simple story. Dude's a mobster. Dude has a loose end hanging out there. He's trying to take care of that, and Jackie's trying to make sure that doesn't happen. That's pretty much it. And then that leads to bigger things. Oh my God. I had seen the him sliding down the pole with the lights and all that kind of stuff. I've seen that a million times.
Oh, yeah.
But in context, for some reason, it was just so much better.
Oh, yeah.
So much better. Also, dislocated pelvis at the end of that scene.
Yep.
Yeah, I would advertise this to anyone who would listen. Police Story is it might end up being my favorite Jackie Chan film. Honestly, it is real, and I love Rush Hour. I fucking love Rush Hour 1. But yeah, oh man.
Have you seen Rumble in the Bronx?
I have.
Okay.
I really like Rumble in the Bronx. For some reason, Police Story hit me just right. And yeah, I liked. There's an elegance in simplicity, and it's just a simple ass story. And they take a simple concept and make so much out of it. It's the best I've seen Jackie act. He nails down. I mean, he does comedy. We know that well.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he was just firing on all cylinders. And he directed the joint too. So this is firing on all cylinders. I really enjoyed Police Story. Had I seen that before I did 100 for 100, it would have been on there somewhere.
See, and this is why, ladies and gentlemen, you really shouldn't just hold tight to your lists because you watch something new and then, oh no, I got to change everything. Yep. It's great to have favorites. Totally fine. But you make those lists, you better be ready because the more you watch, the more you grow. So,
yes. Yeah,
I haven't yet seen Police Story 2 yet because the physical release, they did 1 and 2. And I haven't had a chance yet to watch 2, but that I'm still planning to get to that.
I feel like I don't want to watch 2. Like, it's just, 1 is, like, there's certain albums that I'll listen to, and I'll get to, like, track 4, 5, 6. And I'm like, this is just an amazing album. I don't want to finish it in case it just completely goes off the rails, because musicians are known to stack their best shit at the beginning of an album. I don't want this shit. I don't want to lose this feeling of this is an amazing piece of artwork. And I feel like if I watch Police Story 2, there's no way, shape, or form it can hold up to Police Story 1.
How did you ever watch The Dark Knight? Because I'm now picturing you watching that opening heist and just going, can't get better than this. Fuck it.
Excuse me. I just out of the theaters. Did that guy just leave 20 minutes into the movie? I guess he's more of a Superman guy. I don't know. Yeah. I need to do a little bit of research into Police Story 2 before I commit to this. I don't think that one's on Criterion, unfortunately, but they have a little Jackie Chan collection,
gotcha.
Which I heard about somewhere, and I was like, I wonder if they have Police Story. And sure enough, for you, sir, I had to go through tech support and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Sorry.
But yeah,
worth it.
Yeah, now I know my Criterion is back in service again. I'm good there. And yeah, man, Police Story, damn good, damn fine. That is my cinnamon challenge number 2 for this episode. You unofficially gave me that one.
Woo! Have you anything else you want to share before we move on?
No, I wanted to watch the King of New York last night, but beer, so I didn't. The Pete Davidson joint. King of Staten Island.
King of Staten Island.
Yeah, King of Staten Island. I'm going to watch that maybe today. The discussion thread at the time of this recording goes up tomorrow. So I want to try and check that out today. See what old Apatow and Davidson are talking about.
I've heard good things. I was offered the chance to review it and then never heard anything back after I was like, yes, please send me the link. They sent me crickets. And I was like, hey, I'd still like to review that film. And they were like, new email, who dis?
You hate to see it.
I do, but it's all right. It's all right. I got some other ones coming up. I'm going to be reviewing Irresistible and a few other things. So I ain't too worried. All right. So today's topic, we decided to discuss summertime films.
Yes. As of a week of this recording, we will officially be in the summer months.
That's right. So we decided that we would look at all films with lead characters by the name of Summer.
Yeah, Summer Glau is just all over the place.
She was just in film number 1, 2, and 3. It was just...
Yeah, I just put Serenity 3 times on my list.
Man, that would be a good one, actually.
What, Summer Glau films?
No, Serenity.
Me and Leslie watched it 2 weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago for something else that I'm doing. That movie, I hadn't seen it in quite some time, and it holds.
It does.
Holds, yeah,
very much. And anyway, but on a more serious note, we thought it would be fun to discuss films not necessarily released in the summer, but to discuss some of our favorite films that give off that summertime feeling.
Summer vibes, man.
It could be something. It's sort of light. It's sort of breezy. It could be action packed, but it's just a good time. So it could be films like National Treasure and Transporter. It could be Cradle to the Grave and Do the Right Thing, although that one is certainly a little heavier. Attack the Block, Jaws, Wet Hot American Summer, Independence Day. Things like this. Formula 51 and PCU. Gotta love PCU. Blazing Saddles, King Kong Skull Island, Armageddon. Let's see, what else? Con Air. Crank. All of these things, all these films, and these are just a few of them that would fall underneath the category of sort of that summertime feeling. Grease, One Crazy Summer, Dirty Dancing, stuff like that. So what is the first film you have chosen for your list?
First film that I chose for my list. This is a great idea. This is your idea. This is a great idea, sir.
So if they don't like it, you're just throwing it at my feet. Okay.
Spring and summer are my 2 favorite seasons. Like, when summer gets popping, I'm a much, much happier person. But yeah, with that being said, my first one off the list, The Sandlot. Man, The Sandlot is incredible. Man, Mickey Evans directed this movie, and I feel like it's just one of those. You or me had something on our list last episode, I think, or maybe the episode before, where it just didn't need talking about because it's a movie that everyone knows and loves. And I feel like Sandlot is one of those joints. It's just fun. It's just a fun fucking movie, man. You take America's past. I'm not sure if baseball is still America's pastime. I don't think it is, but that's a different story. Baseball, it's just a great sport. I love watching baseball, and it's just this kids nurturing their love of this game throughout this summer between grades, and the friendships that are formed and bonded, and just the silliness of being afraid of this beast of a dog, and then having to confront that fear. And then once they confront that fear, or once Smalls confronts that fear, you find out that, hey, this is nowhere near as bad as we thought it was. Matter of fact, it's a pretty pleasant old man played by James Earl Jones, who himself is a huge baseball fan, because I think he had the Mickey Mantle baseball, if I remember correctly, or Ruth. One of those two had signed that ball that he had. It's wonderfully acted. It's got a little bit of drama, a little bit of levity. It's a good balance of the two. It celebrates one of the great American sports. And this movie does no wrong. And it gave us the birth of a phrase that is in American lexicon, I think, probably forever. In the
I use it every semester with my students.
I used it with somebody on Facebook a couple days ago. You're killing me, Smalls. Come on, you're killing me, Smalls. Strangely enough, side note, when did this movie come out? This is 93, so I'm 11 when this movie comes out. Ish. Nope, April, so I'm still 10. I was Smalls. I had never heard of what a s'more was until this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was just as confused as he was. And I was like, oh, this is an actual thing you can do and make? What? Oh, man. I've had so many s'mores flavored beers since then. It is wonderful. Yeah, my number 3 is The Sandlot.
Right on. Which, by the way, if you've never tried it, I think it's called Gimme S'more from Ben & Jerry's. It's not their s'more ice cream. They have another one, and I'll find the name of it and send it to you. It is the greatest thing ever. Crystal found it. It's like a new flavor, new mix, whatever. Oh, It is perfectly blended. It is so good. I do s'more ice cream year round because there's never a bad time for s'more ice cream.
Never a bad time, sir.
My first one to discuss, I think, is a natural pairing for yours. Mine came out in '85 and also gave us a wonderful phrase that fans of this film continue to say to this day, and it's very simple. Goonies never say die.
Yes.
This film from Richard Donner has there are certainly aspects that do not age well when we're dealing with Data, that character. It is incredibly stereotypical of the 80s in the way that we looked at Asian Americans. So unfortunately, have to at least put it within the caveat of this aspect did not age well. However, the camaraderie, the trying to find an adventure to bring you all together, that feeling that there is something beyond what we can see right underneath our feet, that adventure is just right beyond our grasp, is really kind of amazing to discover as a kid, that this world is larger than you realize. And Goonies was a staple to watch in the summertime for us. So I would be hard pressed to have any other film on my list beyond this one, but I found others.
Yeah, it's man, it's one of the like ultimate adventure movies to me. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we talked about it on Cine. It might have been a Paprika joint, but we don't get a lot of movies these days. Back when Blockbusters existed, there was a section that's called Action Adventure.
And Blockbuster as in the rental store.
The rental store.
Because we still have Blockbusters.
Not in theaters. And I feel like we don't get a whole lot of adventure these days, man. It's all just straight action. Like, nothing swashbuckling these days outside of, like, the Pirates movies, I guess. Like, you don't get good, fun romps, if you will. You don't get your Errol Flynn Robin Hoods or your Pirates or your Indiana Joneses. You just don't see a lot of that these days, which is unfortunate. And I feel like that movie falls into a category of fun adventures. No one goes on adventures anymore in movies, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's just like, this is the goal. We must get to the goal. Explosion, 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 explosion. Some third act twist. The end.
It's interesting. We're going to discuss one that sort of fits that parameter and yet not at all very, very soon before the end of this episode.
All righty then. For my number 2 is a movie that is, we got to do this thing. Explosion, explosion, explosion. The end. It's a little joint called The Avengers.
Ooh.
Marvel's The Avengers. The reason this one sticks out to me is more of the memory I have associated with it than anything else. This is the film that kicked off summer 2012. And back
kicked it off big.
Yeah, and back when you could still do this, the Alamo Draft House, which I lived 10 minutes away from at the time, did a phase 1 watch leading into the Avengers. You try to do that nowadays, you're going to die.
They still do it. They still do it. They did it for Endgame.
Yes, and I read some dude chronicled his entire experience of not falling asleep. I don't think he ever fell asleep. And he plowed all the way through. And I think they showed Endgame at the end. I can't remember or not. And it was fucking fascinating to read and read his observations of what people were doing. But it was me, former host Paprika, Eric Elizondo was also there. A couple of us were there, and it was just phenomenally fun. Like, it was all like everyone in the theater, because it was almost a packed theater doing this whole thing. But we'd all seen the movies a million times. So, like, no one was beholden to, the golden rule, shut the fuck up when you're in the theater. But now, man, there's just conversations about Iron Man happening over here while Iron Man 2 is playing, and they're talking about Hulk over here with Hulk's playing. And it was, I was taking a nap during Hulk. And it was just great. And it ended at like 11:45. And they're like, we technically can't show you this until midnight hits. And it was the longest 15 minutes of anybody's life. Like, just give us the fucking movie.
Yeah.
And when it kicked off, man, it was a wild ride. Avengers is still, to this day, the only movie that I have watched, got to the end credits, and immediately started from the beginning and watched again. it's what you want out of an ensemble piece. You got the disagreements at the beginning. You got the formation coming through towards the third act, which is kind of sucks. So you're like, I want to see my team of people get down, but you only get like an act of it. But that's understandable because then you get Age of Ultron, even though they're also arguing throughout that. Anyways. But it's cool because you got Infinity War. But never mind. Steve and Tony broke up. Anyway. The Avengers are never on the same page. But you get Endgame. Yeah, where still they kind of beef the first 45 minutes.
It's fine. You get that 30-minute fight with Thanos. Hell yeah.
Seals the whole thing. But yeah, Avengers, it gives character pieces for everybody, except for Hawkeye. And it's just a beauty. And it gives us the shots. There's two shots when we talk about Avengers. There's the rotation shot, of course. That's what most people think of, I think. But then there's that oneer throughout the Battle of New York where you see every individual in that long. And I was like, this is what I wanted. I didn't know I wanted out of a movie. And I was like, I hope Whedon brings that again to Age of Ultron. And that's how he opens the film. He knew what I wanted. Yeah, the heavy summertime vibes coming off of Avengers.
I will never forget being in the theater. I can't remember if it was a sneak or not, but that part doesn't matter so much. When Captain is throwing out the orders for who's doing what, and he says Hulk smash, and he grins and jumps, the whole audience was like, yeah! Amazing. Yeah. I will never forget that.
Yeah, that put a big dumb smile on my face when he said, I'm not the biggest Hulk dude, but I know my Hulk smash. And so when I got that, I was like, they just, so many little Easter eggs thrown all throughout that movie. And respect was paid to the source material.
Damn right.
Unlike other ensemble superhero movies that will come later on down the road.
You know, sometimes it's okay to not follow the source material as long as you still have something to say. And from our shared understanding, there's really not much being said, which is part of our problem.
But yeah, I'd agree with that.
Interestingly, so far you've chosen one youth-focused ensemble film for your first, and I did the same. You chose a superhero ensemble film. Mine is not an ensemble film. It is focused on a small group led by one man who in 1980 saved every one of us, Flash Gordon. I've been a lifelong Queen fan. I started off with, the stuff that most people do. We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, what have you. And I picked up a Greatest Hits. And even before the Greatest Hits, I think I saw the Highlander film, and then the TV show, and tried to find, Here We Are, but it's Princes of the Universe. And I watched Iron Eagles, and it's like, it's a Kind of Magic. It's the unofficial soundtrack, and it's got this from Iron Eagles, and it's got this, and it's got that, and just sort of gone through. But Queen makes this movie. Like, their sound, their synth 80s sound makes this movie. As an adaptation of a serial, it not only honors that feel of the nuclear age storytelling, while also being very much an 80s rock and roll kind of infused film. It is actually getting a 4K release in August. Diabolic DVD, I think, is handling the Arrow US release. Although, interestingly, I've seen the same film, same edition, released cheaper on Amazon. So pick your poison. Pick your poison there. But it is, for those that have seen it, it is a delectable, colorful, highly quotable, insane acid trip of an amazing film. And personally, I can't wait to rewatch it in 4K.
It's a weird comparison that makes absolutely no sense, but I feel like Flash Gordon is the little brother of he just went on my head. Russell and Carpenter. A Big Trouble in Little China. Like, it's got those same vibes. Like, you talk about adventures.
Except Jack Burton isn't the hero.
Yeah,
he just keeps talking a big game. Flash actually unites people.
That's very true.
That's the thing I love most about Big Trouble in Little China. Now I'm devastated I didn't include that on this list because that would be a perfect summer film.
Yeah.
But But yeah, Jack Burton, thing I love about that movie is that he is just not helpful at all. He gets knocked out.
He does nothing.
He really does nothing. I mean, he's there to help, and he keeps talking a big game, and just he's useless.
A well-intentioned fool is what Jack Burton. When I was months ago, I do my grocery shopping at Walmart, and I always swing by the $5 DVD bin to see what's going on. Digging through it, and even in these times, I put on my gloves, and then I dig through. And there's Big Trouble in Little China, a Blu-ray for $7, and I literally just stopped and looked around like, is somebody playing a trick on the consumers here? There's no way this should ever drop below like $12, $13. It's that good movie. Sure enough, scoop that bad boy up on the cheap, and I broke my Blu-ray rule of nothing before 2007. You should ever own on Blu-ray. But this is one I was like, I don't own this physically at all, and at this price, you can't not get it. I also need to get Flash Gordon as well. And I also need to do my rewatch for something else I got going on.
Well, 4K release coming this summer, and only reason I haven't, I do have a Blu-ray of Big Trouble along with my DVD, and I picked up the Blu-ray because it had some special features the DVD didn't. But I'm not picking up the collector's edition that Shout Factory has because it's not a restoration. It's just the same movie with extra features.
Extra features.
Yeah, which is great. I'm just not going to pay $25 for just extra features.
Which is, you say that, and I'm upset that if you rent something on, say, Vudu or iTunes, or the case may be, I would pay a lesser price just to rent special features on some things. Like, if there's a DVD commentary or director's commentary for X movie, and I could download that for like $4 or $5, then yeah, I would definitely do that. But it sucks renting something online. You don't get the bonus of getting to check out those special features.
I actually explore that in a review that's about to drop soon for a Criterion film, Buster Keaton's The Cameraman.
Yeah.
Because that thing has, in addition to The Cameraman, there's also another Buster Keaton film. I don't have it in front of me. I think it's called Spite Marriage, but a restoration of that. Audio commentary of The Cameraman. It's got, I think, 3 documentaries about Buster Keaton, about MGM, and about the motion picture camera. And this is why people still buy physical media, because digital stuff tends not to have it. Criterion, you've told me their streaming service does have some bonus features. Disney Plus does have some bonus features, but most streaming services don't have that, which is fine. But part of what's great about having the physical content is that they include this material to enhance the experience.
Right.
But anyway.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that the extra shit in the Criterion streaming is so much better than the movies are. You can literally just go and get lost in there and all their little documentaries and all that kind of good stuff for hours. And I have, and it's wonderful. It's people they interview about film. I don't care about Michael Cera, but there's a great interview of Michael Cera on there, and I'm like, oh, this is totally worthwhile. It's pretty dope. So you have stuck pretty much in the 80s so far for your 2 joints. And it is time for my final pick to go to that beloved decade. The subject of the next Paprika draft, by the way, is 80s films.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's going to be a fucking cutthroat fight. And we've all acknowledged that we will be enemies by the end of it. So I'm looking forward to it. There's only one. It is... I've said it many times. I think there is not a single bit of fat to be trimmed from it. Everybody says, if you take him out, the movie still happens. Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is completely untrue, because if you take Indy out, that leaves the Ark sitting in the middle of the desert for who knows who to find.
So your argument is that without Indy, someone else will find the Ark. And
for who knows what purposes. The top men.
So basically, it's the literal end of the movie, not the climax, not the confrontation. The literal before the credits doesn't happen, and therefore you need Indy.
It has value because you don't know who's going to find that thing. All right, Mussolini could have popped up and been like, here it is. It's just like when you made this subject, that immediately popped into my mind, because that movie for me is the definition of cinematic fun. which
Mhm.
for me, that is the definition of summer. Summer is when I have my most fun. It's when I'm out day drinking on the patio. It's when I'm hanging out with my friends. That's where, your big blockbuster movies are hitting theaters. So you get to go throw popcorn in your face all day long while you watch those joints. I love summer. And the feeling that I have about summer is mirrored with Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it's just, again, adventure. It's a good adventure movie, which we don't get anymore of these days. It's Harrison Ford in fine form. That's a good looking man in fine form. Problematic, yes. That whole relationship with him and Marion. You do the math on that. That is not great at all. No, at all. Which, she's got every right to be pissed at him and slap the shit out of him when she first sees him. But man, thank you, Spielberg and Lucas, for taking your vacation to Hawaii and coming up with this bad bit of business right here. I have Frasier had put up in one of the Facebook groups we're a part of.
Adam Fraser.
Yes, Adam Fraser, guest a couple episodes back.
Former guest,
yes. That Star Wars making of book, that big long book. I have the Raiders of the Lost Ark version of that book, and also the Star Wars book. Great coffee table books, and it's just so much fun to read all the behind the scenes stuff that goes on while they're making this shit. It is. I mean, everyone's seen Raiders, right? It's dopeness.
Right on.
Yeah. What is your number one? Oh yeah. What do you got to say about Raiders?
Oh, for the most part, I agree with you. It is not my favorite of the three films, but it is certainly my second favorite of the three films.
Yeah, I feel like
technically there's four, but I've only seen the fourth one once, and I never really have a desire to revisit it.
I'll mail it your way. I'm in the. It seems like I'm in the minority. Everyone loves Last Crusade, and good reason. Last Crusade is just absolutely absurd and wonderful. But for some reason, I think it's Raiders hits harder to me than Last Crusade. But I am perfectly fine being in that minority.
I don't think it's that much of a minority at all. And all three films are fine. For some reason, Temple of Doom just sat with me weird. I think it just creeped me out as a kid, so I never really went back to it. And
I love Temple of Doom.
Last Crusade is just so much fun, and for me, more fun than Raiders. So that's why I tend to lean in that direction. But I can't argue with any of your observations about the film, and certainly wouldn't as to why it's important to you. My number one film was really hard to come down on, because there's a lot of films that scratch that itch of summertime goodness, whether it's something like Hudson Hawk or Operation Swordfish. I see you crumpling up your face with Hudson Hawk. This house loves Hudson Hawk.
It was
Will for the End of Time.
This is a double face crumple, because
what?
A, you're talking about Hudson Hawk, and B, on the list of top three, you throw out like 45 different titles.
No. It's category. It's category. No. It's never that. Whenever I'm doing this and I mention other films, it's more here are other films in the category, not here's films I'm sneaking in. It's none of that.
Okay.
It's called ramp up, my man. Ramp up.
Okay. I will
a little hype.
I will retract that down to a single face crumple then.
Okay, that's fine. And you can take your face crumple somewhere else about Hudson Hawk, because in this house, Hudson Hawk. But I mean, I was seriously trying to figure out Independence Day, right? I mean, that film is the adventure film for a generation. But I decided to stick with the 80s. Unfortunately, mine just ended up in that same decade. But when I think of summer, there's a film that was incredibly significant to me and my siblings growing up, and it is the Wolfgang Petersen Trauma that will stay with us for the rest of time. Rest in peace, Artax, The Neverending Story. Because in a similar vein of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where this is an adventure that we're going on, there's swashbuckling, there's snakes, there's murdering zombies. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah.
But with Neverending Story, particularly as a kid who was frequently bullied, seeing this kid get lost in a book and go on a grand adventure, that was me. I read constantly as a kid, just going on adventures of the mind. And for me, The Neverending Story is that. It is there are several moments in that film that I will quote as we are going about our daily lives, and I look forward to sharing it with Connor when he is old enough to understand the significance of both the highs and the lows that take place in the narrative. So my number one is The Never-Ending Story.
Some reason that movie came up in a discussion. Oh, it was Paprika. Somebody posted that Bill the Pony was better than Artax.
And I don't know who Bill the Pony is.
It's the pony that they have, that the Fellowship has in Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, that would explain it. I never saw it.
Yeah, you never saw Fellowship of the Ring?
Wait. Fellowship being the 3 Hobbit movies, right?
No, the first Lord of the Rings movie.
First Lord of the Rings movie. Okay. Saw it once. That was enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, just when you think you know a guy, Paprika.
Those films for some reason did nothing for me. And here's the crazy part. My 2 older brothers are not readers. They're just not. And my eldest brother loved Lord of the Rings. They had to read, I think, The Hobbit in a class that by the time I got there, they changed it and they weren't reading the book anymore. So I never read The Hobbit, but I think my eldest brother read Lord of the Rings, and he was telling me all this stuff that was going to happen, and it sounded so exciting. And then I watched the movie, and I was like, this is dull.
Oh, man, you killed me, Smalls.
Well placed.
Thank you.
Nice throwback.
So the way the military works, you go to boot camp, and then you go to a separate school to learn what your job is. And obviously, you got to be tucked away in some dorms. While you do that, these dorms each have like a common area that they call the day room. So the TV was. Fellowship comes out in theaters December 2001. And this is back in the days when it took like 40 years for it to come to DVD, and you just had to wait forever. I think it had came to DVD already, and then the extended version was just released as I got to my technical training. And I was military intelligence, a bunch of nerds. So anytime you were in that day room for like 3 months straight, that's all that was playing was Fellowship of the Ring. And it started out like, dope, let's watch the Fellowship of the Ring. And I walked by and like, just watch anything else. Just anything else, please. Not Fellowship of the Ring. But anyways, that gets us all off track. Good call, sir, on the Never-Ending Story. It is a dope idea for a story.
We strangely, without talking to each other, matched up in pseudo genre. There were enough similarities that it's almost like we planned it, and I promise you we didn't.
So let's slide into our last bit of business, man. Our challenges.
I got to tell you, thank you for this one.
Yeah.
I had wanted to see Ronin, and Ronin is John Frankenheimer from 1998. This is a film that I had wanted to see, and 98, so I was almost 18. That means I was living in Charlotte. Definitely did not go see this movie, which is a shame. This was fantastic and nothing like what I expected, particularly from what I'd heard about it, from what you had discussed in episode 32 when we discussed car chases, and you talked about one in particular, which had Crystal and I going, oh, this isn't the car chase. They're aiming for people. They don't care who they hit. This isn't that car chase. And then we got to it. It's like, oh, okay. I totally get why this one was on his list.
Yeah, it's a good one, man.
But I love the fact that nobody really gets introduced. You see people and you see how they engage with people, but it's not like, hello, my name is, and my specialty is. You know what I mean? Like the first Mission Impossible, they go through the steps of making sure you know who people are and what their specialty is before they get murdered or change sides or whatever it is that they do.
Like Emilio Estevez, you are the technology guy. You are this dude. And you are that guy. Yeah.
You just have to figure it out as things go. And I forget, there was a conversation online somewhere on Facebook where someone said that they couldn't really get into it because people were too cool.
That was me that said that. It was on Twitter. Man.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah, it's people that are just like, everyone's so aloof in this movie. Like no one really raises their voice all that much. People are rarely freaked out. Yep. Everyone is just like, wild shit's happening in this movie. They
So
get a
you're
little
saying
bit.
that they're professionals?
Yeah, they are professionally professional, and I'm like, these dudes they're just detached from life. They I'm not going to say they murder casually, but they don't show any composure or feelings one way or the other about it. It's just, this is what needs to be done. This is what I will do. Until that car chase, where they're obviously, civilians, innocents, they're not part of this. Let's not involve them if we don't have to. But yeah, they are very aloof and detached, with the exception of Sean Bean.
Yeah, I was expecting him to come back around, but I actually loved that he was so different from everybody else, talking a big game, but not being able to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
That it really showed how good everybody else is to not be contend with, which says a lot about who they are as individuals before the story even gets going. And this is a film that has Robert De Niro, Jean Reno, Natasha McElhone, which I hope, again, I apologize if I butchered it, Stellan Skarsgård, who I didn't realize was in this, Sean Bean, Skip Seduth, and who I more recognize than know by name, Jonathan Pryce. This has a ton of folks in it, each doing phenomenal work by doing very little. And I honestly can't recommend this film enough. It more than lives up to it. And it very much feels like a samurai story.
Yeah.
And of course, by the time you get to the end of the movie, you realize Ronin isn't exactly the right name for this. But the way that they tell the story, Ronin is actually perfect. Because of a group of people without a master trying to get a job done. And it's about the honor of doing the thing versus the thing itself.
I think it is one of the most overlooked film MacGuffins in the case.
Yes. True MacGuffin. We don't know what the hell's in there. We never find out.
All we know is peace talks start happening after that case gets delivered. The way this movie was introduced to me, my best friend at the time did to me what I do to other people now, in the fact that is, I haven't seen this. And he left off the couch and he was like, what? What do you mean you haven't seen this? And then we went to the Blockbuster and we rented it, and he's like, we're going to sit down and watch this right now. And it's damn fine. It's also the reason why I don't trust Stellan Skarsgård in anything. I don't care if he's a good guy or not. I don't trust him. I will cross the street if I ever see that man in real life. Yeah, great movie. You gave me Promare.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, anime. Directed by, Hiroki Imashishi. It's
Go for it. Don't mince your words. I see you doing it.
It's that struggle's more of like, I butchered that guy's name. I hope he doesn't listen to this show. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I will caveat this by saying I'm not the biggest anime dude. I like 4 or 5 hardcore. These are my shits. And there's a couple of them I'm like, okay, it's all right. And I think this falls into that category. Talk about just over the top. This movie could be defined as over the top. Like the first 22 minutes, I'm like, the action is still happening?
Yep.
This dude is still screaming. To try to frame what this movie is about, which I don't even know if I'm going to successfully sum this bad boy up.
Go for it.
We have a group of people called the Burnish that started the film, a mutation, if you want to call it that they cannot control, and a pink flame extends from them. And this happens all over the world right about the same time and fucks up society. Cut to 30 years. Cut to 30 years later. The Burnish are just a thing now. We know that they are a people. They kind of are sequestered about doing their thing. And then whenever somebody goes off, we have this team of fire response people that are there to take them out of the game, because the Burnish are some wild, crazy, bad people.
Yep.
And you think we're going to be framed through this fire response team all the way through, and that is in no way, shape, or form the case. There is there's the twist, if you want to call it that, of, these Burnish are people with a mutation, but in the end, they're still just people.
Yep.
And they still deserve the same respect that people get. And that kind of reshapes our main fire response guys' mode of thinking. Like, oh, these are just people. They can't help what happened to them. And then, throughout the course of the movie, and by that I mean the first time you see him, the real antagonist is revealed to be this dude who was kidnapping Burnish people and manipulating them for his ends. And then, of course, the two must combine, and then the big bad showdown happens. It's fucking colorful. It's loud.
Yes,
it's brash. It's silly at times. It is an anime.
Yeah, it knows very well what it is, and it plays with that too. Like I still giggle over the fact that when our two heroes, if you will, stumble across a mech that they need to use, it's actually called Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah. Oh, my eyes rolled out of my face when that happened.
It's like this movie knows exactly what it is, and it plays within that very, very much. In the very long, if you will, fight sequence that follows shortly thereafter, when you learn about the terraforming weapon, and it gets used, and I think it's in Japanese, the name of it gets put up along with an English translation. In the next shot, it goes back to the fight, but if you look behind them fighting, you can see the pile of dirt in the distance, the name's still up.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It leans into that very heavy anime trope of characters yelling about something. People love to yell in anime.
Apparently.
And I think it's somewhere...
They're hard of hearing from all the yelling.
Somewhere in that third act, our main character's yelling about something. And our other protagonist is just like, "What? Why are you yelling? What are you talking about right now? You are an idiot." Which I love that as he's another Jack Burton, our main fire rescue guy.
But he does succeed. So he is Jack Burton-esque.
Yeah,
but he helps.
Yeah, he's a well-intentioned bumbling fool, but he does know right from wrong. It's a wild film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. And now you've seen it.
And
Yay.
now I've seen it. I remember you talking about it a while back, many episodes ago on the show about how you'd just a few times. And it's if you are an anime fan, then this is going to be up your alley, I feel.
Very, very much so. And I've only recently started expanding what anime I watch. And this was my favorite animated film of 2019.
Yeah.
I was supremely disappointed when stuff was getting nominated like Toy Story 4 and Frozen 2 and other things that were very mainstream. When I was like, no, but here's something new and original. Come on. Not to say that Toy Story 4 and Frozen 2 aren't enjoyable. I very much enjoy Frozen 2, but man, Promare, it set my burning soul ablaze.
Yes, there you go. Confirmed, Doug Davidson is one of the Burnish.
No, firefighter.
All right. We got anything else there? Or is that
no, man. I am very much looking forward to the next show. I've got a great idea. I can't wait to talk to you about.
Wow, that's going to be interesting. All right. Well, that will do it for the episode 33 of the Cine. And it's film week. So, we weren't not going to drop an episode of Cinnamon. Without the film week. And they will get a double dose of Davidson, as you are also the person I interviewed about film week. So
condolences to everyone listening to this.
So Friday, if you're listening to this the week that goes up, you get to hear young Davidson here talk about his love of film and what is easily one of my favorite interviews that I've done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure to put something in your ears and push play.
Well, it's just... Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's a good one. I had fun. I enjoyed it very much so. And that's going to do it for this episode. So I guess we'll be back in a couple of weeks. It seems to be our schedule. And until then, you guys take it easy and have a good one out there.
Watch the movies, y'all.